I know because I've scrolled out of them. What the?
The further we progress in our modern times is the more I realize how instrumental movies like WALL-E are in highlighting exactly how much we're actually regressing and causing our own downfall. The movie WALL-E was actually a horror movie if you think about it, not just for the robot, but for the humans. WALL-E is an acronym for Waste Allocation Load Lifter Earth Class, and the story narrates a tale of a charming 700-year-old robot. This character, bearing the same name, has the daily task of tidying up trash on an Earth left deserted. Rampant consumerism and unchecked pollution have rendered the planet virtually unlivable for humans. Consequently, mankind has retreated into space where they spend their lives ensnared by screens and AI that cater to their every whim. In the year 2805, Earth is basically a wasteland and humans now live their handicapped lives on a giant spaceship called the Axiom. WALL-E ends up befriending a spiffy robot named Eve, who was sent back to Earth to see if there was any life. When Eva, as WALL-E called her, is sent back to the ship, WALL-E hitches a ride and ends up on the Axiom. And basically, the entirety of humanity is now morbidly obese due to the microgravity and laziness and having the other robots cater to their every whim. Now, for the majority of the movie, we see everything from the robot's point of view, and it's already pretty horrific for him, but imagine from the human's point of view how horrific this actually is.
A is for Axiom, your home sweet home. B is for by and large, your very best friend.
Reflecting on the agenda of the controlling robots aboard the Axiom spaceship, the influence of consumerism nearly resulted in humanity becoming permanently marooned in outer space. It's a very profound and terrifying concept. I mean, when you think about it, there are no plants on this spaceship, so how do they produce oxygen? How much oxygen do they have left, and how much food? Of course, we all know the popular theory that goes around that humans have been eating each other and don't even realize it, but in the universe depicted by the movie, humans have become so conditioned by megacorporations to focus on their screens, drink their calories, and consume mindlessly that they no longer recognize their own transformation or the impending doom that awaits them. The corporation, by and large, has managed to manipulate people into a state of perpetual consumption, leading them to become lethargic and complacent. They have effectively shaped human behavior to prioritize comfort and immediate satisfaction despite the evident harm it's inflicting. These humans have been fattened up to evidently have shorter lifespans and then, as a result, be fed to other humans. Seriously, who knows what the lifespan is of these human beings at this time, and I'm pretty sure it's nowhere near as long as it is now. Imagine what it would be like as a human on the Axiom finding out all of this. But we know that human would not survive. Similar to the plot of shows like Silo, simply questioning could result in you being turned into food for everyone else. But the real horror of the story is how much it seems to parallel our society today. In the WALL-E movie, the megacorporation, by and large, controls nearly every aspect of human life, from consumer goods to the very spaces in which humanity lives. Their influence is pervasive. A modern parallel of this presence of large corporations and big tech companies that exert considerable influence over our daily lives, from what we buy to the news we consume, even our social interactions. Corporations like Amazon, Google, and Facebook have an unprecedented reach, the control over personal data, societal narratives, and the power to influence behaviors and opinions presents a striking similarity to the control exerted by and large. In the WALL-E universe, the Earth is devastated and uninhabitable, a direct result of overconsumption and disregard for the environment. Humans, that now look like Teletubby versions of themselves, relocated to space to continue their consumption habits, pushed by none other than megacorporation, by and large. And just like in the movie, our present-day society is grappling with environmental changes, much of them stemming from overconsumption and waste, plastic pollution, mismanagement of our ecosystem, and depletion of natural resources. And these are pressing issues that are often exacerbated by corporate interests and consumer-driven culture. We also consider the media influence and the push for a docile society. And the movie does a great job at displaying the very harrowing results of not being able to fight back or simply being so placated that you no longer feel the need to. The humans in WALL-E are portrayed as docile and disengaged, constantly consuming media, and isolated from human interactions. Real human interactions to the point where nobody even thinks to stop and try to help someone who's fallen.
Remain stationary. A service bot will be here to assist you momentarily.
They're fed a constant stream of advertising and content designed to keep them content and complacent, to the point where it is so rare that they even look up to see what's in front of their faces or what's going on around them, like in this scene. She's been here her whole life, and yet is seeing all of this for the first time because she always has a screen in front of her face. Likewise, in our real world, the rise of social media and on-demand entertainment platforms can be seen as creating a similar effect in our society, and as seen in this short morbid animation, the media at times might be used as a tool to distract, entertain, and potentially pacify the population. Constant emphasis on consumption, whether it's buying products or consuming content, creates an environment where critical thinking and social engagement might be less prioritized. In addition to this, people defending themselves or fighting back against criminals are also in certain states regarded in a harsher manner than the actual criminals, as if there is a push to dissuade and discourage people from fighting back and simply defending themselves, their loved ones, or their property, which is their right. Once people are no longer allowed to defend themselves, or when they become more afraid of the punishment that would result from defending themselves than of the actual criminals, a shift occurs. This fear breeds a population unwilling to push back against bullies, or large corporations that seek to control their lives. Essentially, this creates a group that resembles a cult of mild-mannered sheep, individuals who no longer recognize their own strength or autonomy. Re-education is a word that would be pushed constantly for anyone who pushes against the new societal norms. But as seen with the parallel in the WALL-E movie, many of these issues arose when we started to become too dependent on technology. In the WALL-E universe, robots like WALL-E are tasked with cleaning an Earth destroyed by overconsumption, and humans become entirely dependent on technology for basic functions. Mind you, these humans can't even go to the bathroom by themselves. They need help to be mobile and to communicate, and they're so dependent on technology that they've completely forgotten interaction with each other, or the fact that simply making eye contact with each other and touching each other seems alien. In WALL-E's world, the humans just expected the robots to do all the cleaning up after they've done the damage. And to have a robot or AI as advanced as Eve and WALL-E means that they already were living with robots and AI long before they decide to go into space. And as technology advances, we too are becoming increasingly reliant on it.
And we're outside what might look like kind of just any other high-end model home, but this is the first ever prototype smart home of the future, and we are getting the very first look inside. We'll pull kitchen appliances, connect to apps that help you cook, even wash your dishes. There's a smart shower, toilet, vanity mirror. There are more than 400 connected gadgets in all.
From smart homes to AI-driven personal assistants, our dependency on technology grows. And understandably, this offers incredible conveniences. It also raises concerns about losing basic skills, autonomy, and even the risk of technology potentially malfunctioning or being misused. I mean, there's a reason why I like old cars. Even without formal training or a mechanic's license, you can often learn to fix them yourself. As technology progresses, modern cars are becoming increasingly filled with computerized components. And while these advancements are meant to facilitate things, they seem to ironically be making people worse drivers to the point where some people don't even know how to parallel park. And trust me, I have seen the smallest cars trying to parallel park and just failing at it, and it's embarrassing. Oh, that's the first thing you have to learn before you get off of the parking lot of the DMV to take your driver's test.
Boys, that's it. Man, this was 4 minutes of a She's not giving up. She's not giving up. She is not giving up. She is not giving up. Shame.
But it also makes the components of the car less accessible to people who don't have as much money to spend on bringing it to a mechanic that's probably not going to fix the problem anyway, seeing as many mechanics actually scam their customers. Specifically, the customers know nothing about cars that are totally reliant on the mechanics. The movie WALL-E stood out to me not just as a cutesy dystopian film, but a stark commentary on corporate influence, consumer culture, media control, and environmental neglect. Its portrayal of a society driven by consumption and controlled by a single corporate entity serves as a warning, reflecting concerns that are very much part of our contemporary landscape. It urges us to examine our habits, values, and the systems that shape our world, encouraging us to strive for a more balanced and mindful existence. The observation is highly relevant today, and as we continue to advance through the timeline of our existence, the relevance of this movie and movies like it only grows. Its increasing significance is both unsettling and sad. Autonomy allows individuals to make choices based on their own values, beliefs, and needs, which is something the humans in WALL-E no longer had. Without it, people became mere cogs in a machine, stripped of the ability to determine their path in life, and it's determined for them. Mega corporations can exploit this lack of autonomy to shape individual preferences resources and choices in ways that benefit their bottom line, which is what the representative of this, the by and large megacorporation in the WALL-E movie, accomplished at the detriment of the human race and every other unfortunate race of animal and plant on the planet. Emphasizing individuality fosters critical thinking and the ability to question the status quo, which is what Wally and Eve represent in the WALL-E movie. If people are just let to passively consume and accept whatever corporations or technologies present to them, they become less likely to think critically or challenge problematic practices and ideas. They may be so used to being placated by this that they don't even realize that there are issues. At this point, they're so unhealthy and weak that it's just easier to not resist. In addition to this, as seen in the WALL-E movie, technology has the potential to invade our private lives to an unprecedented degree. Corporations can gather data on every aspect of our lives, from our shopping habits to our personal conversations. Fighting for autonomy means demanding control over our data and personal information, preventing it from being used in ways to manipulate or exploit and control us, and utilizing our minds. One of the things that is very hard for an elite-powered entity to take control of. But this control isn't just overt. It happens very gradually, generation after generation after generation. In that way, it's like the frog boiling analogy, where you turn the heat up very slowly to the point the frog does not realize it's being boiled alive. For many people, resisting proves to be too difficult, so it's easier to just conform and feed. I mean, just think about the media now and how they glorify morbid obesity, to the point where anybody who merely mention that it's unhealthy is vilified by the media themselves that are pushing for health at any size.
So, as a fat person, I often dread medical appointments because of blatant medical fat phobia. The provider blamed everything on my weight and told me that I needed to go on a medication that made me feel really terrible.
This can easily be seen as a parallel to what could have laid out the foundation of the WALL-E movie. As a cautionary tale, if we allow corporations to dictate our lives' details, we risk creating a society where individual preferences and identities are washed away in favor of corporate-driven norms and standards. This could lead to a great loss of cultural diversity and the vibrancy that stems from different perspectives and individual creativity. People simply having different views than those who go along with the status quo are seen as evil and called all manner of names in an attempt to bully and coerce them into conforming, or simply trying to keep them quiet so they don't infect the others who are playing into the narrative of believing every aspect of what the megacorporations say or want them to believe. What's essentially happening is that society has allowed megacorporations to control various aspects of our lives, which has already led to monopolistic practices that limit competition and fair trade. And we've seen the results of this in unfair pricing, reduced quality, and limited choices for consumers, thereby inhibiting economic fairness and growth. Corporations like Disney, that own an exorbitant amount of sub-companies, and other giant corporations, give the people the illusion of choice, when in fact they're the ones with their hydro tentacles in all of it. This is exactly what happened with By and Large in the WALL-E movie. After enough time has passed, there only needed to be one company that absorbed all the others, where everyone could get everything they needed all in one place. I mean, so many dystopian movies had warned us of this, so it's definitely not a new concept. A society that prioritizes corporate interests over individual autonomy can, and usually does, lead to unhealthy lifestyles and mental issues. People's self-worth and happiness may become tied to material consumption, as we see in the WALL-E movie, leading to a never-ending cycle of wanting and buying without true fulfillment. We see the effects of this with social media and always wanting to push the envelope just for the sake of validation through social media. People in the WALL-E movie essentially lived in virtual reality. There's actually a really interesting portrayal of this in the Pendragon series, of which I've read all, and I really implore that you guys watch it. Sorry, I keep forgetting it's not a movie or an actual series, but read it or listen to the audiobook, because the dramatization is actually quite great, and it's a really good adventure. Bobby Pendragon's the best. But when they got to that portion of the story, and they laid out the examples of what could come of our society if we become too enveloped in this, it was extremely terrifying and morbid. And the thing is, it was believable, because I could see that happening with our society, as it's already begun to. In the WALL-E universe, their happiness, these people, and their individuality only existed and only was valid inside of this virtual dome. As long as they were inside the virtual dome or that matrix and did not challenge the actual powers that be, they were kept happy. After all, it's all they could do anyway, with them being unable to move without their hover vehicles. They essentially became locked in this never-ending loop of escapism, except this escapism, as seen when they're teaching the babies in the WALL-E movie, only exists within the confines of what the megacorporation wants them to use as an escape. And what do? They teach them while they're young. Nothing that encourages pushback to a strong degree seems to be encouraged. Individual autonomy is fundamental to democratic governance. If people are being pacified and controlled, they're less likely to engage in civic activities, vote, or hold their governments accountable. As seen in the WALL-E movie, this leads to a weakened democracy where corporations and technologies have more say in governance than the citizens themselves. The citizens essentially become cattle. WALL-E not only did a wonderful job at portraying how we could lose our world if we give up our autonomy, but it also showed what happened when we stopped fighting for autonomy and individuality against a potential overreach of mega corporations. And technology is not merely a philosophical or theoretical concern. It's a practical and urgent matter that impacts our freedom, privacy, creativity, economy, and well-being, and the very fabric of our democratic societies. Ensuring that technological advancements and corporate influences serve the interest of individuals rather than subjugating them is so important and vital for a healthy, vibrant, and just society. And we get a happy ending in WALL-E when the humans fight for this and take back their freedom. I have no idea how they're gonna fare not being able to move well, but the important thing is that they have taken a step, one giant leap for mankind, where they had to once again learn how to be human, take responsibility for everything that's happened, repair their world, and restore their individuality and purpose. WALL-E will always be one of my favorite movies, and I think it did a great job at showcasing how important it is that we fight to keep our freedom and our voice, and that we fight for our planet. This is messaging done right in a movie, and I wish there were more movies like this. I also hope, as ironic as it sounds, that one day Pixar can once again be restored to its former glory as the humans were fighting for in their own film. Thanks so much for watching. This has been Ultiori. You ask, we answer.